Listen, you talk about the upgrades in the background and letting you know who he's rooting for right away. If you're watching on video, you see my guy Carlton KB is joining us on this episode. I mean, one of Miami's finest, and you got not one but all four of the Miami teams behind him right now: Marlins, Heat, Dolphins, and Panthers.
The
Um,
OG Panthers. This Panthers didn't see wins.
Yeah, right. That's true. I mean, listen, I mean, we've talked, I feel like we talked about this last time you were on the episode, but I mean, yeah, I mean, talk about a golden era of a franchise right now. The Panthers, back-to-back Stanley Cup champions, went from having zero Stanley Cups to having two Stanley Cups in 2 years. You know, we'll get into hockey a little bit later. You know, I know a little bit of a rougher start for the Panthers right now. They're kind of playing all right, but like, back-to-back cups, I think the fatigue's starting to get in a little bit there. We're definitely going to talk Carlton's Heat a little bit later on in NBA Cup. We got the groups are all set, or the brackets are set, I should say. Group play is done. So we're going to do previews for all that. But first, we got to talk with the big news. Chris Paul officially announcing his retirement. And I mean, look, this is something that I feel like he's flirted with this past offseason. He kind of set the table for it a little bit, maybe even set the table a little bit more this season when he goes back home to the Clippers, who he spent I guess the majority of his season or his tenure with. I mean, he's been on a bunch of different teams. Not like it was a large majority, but and I mean, maybe that's one of the questions that I'll ask you is, where do you remember Chris Paul the most? But I mean, of course, 20 plus seasons in the league, 12-time All-Star, all rookie team and rookie of the year in 05, 06, 9-time all defensive team, won the All-Star game MVP in 2012, 2013, Pelicans, Clippers, Rockets, that season with Thunder, Suns, of course, going to the finals, Warriors, Spurs, and now back to the Clippers. So jumping around late here a little bit. I mean, obviously, it's hard to, and we will talk a little more later on down the line when he officially retires. Of course, Chris Paul has still the rest of the season to go, but yeah, I mean, what else there to say, Carlton? I mean, one of the most influential players of the 2000s, the point guard. I mean, I guess in all these eras that I just mentioned, where do you remember him the most?
Yeah, it's gotta be the Clippers. Even though there was the epic arguments. I wish we knew each other at the time. The it's funny to say now, but the Chris Paul versus Darren Williams was a legit
Yep.
argument, man.
Yep.
And when he was with New Orleans, and it's got to be the Clippers. It's a shame he didn't get a ring. Um I don't remember. I wish I should have looked it up. I wish I remember where the series was and everything, but I vividly remember just DeAndre Jordan. You remember the play where DeAndre Jordan thought the shot clock was the game clock, and he gets the rebound, and it's like you literally just he literally just have to put it back in, and they win. And he thinks that time expires. There's that, and then there's the Rockets versus was it the Warriors where
Yeah.
where they just have the worst shooting night in history. I just drew a blank on his name. How could I?
I mean, that was the double.
Trevor Ariza, the Trevor
Yeah,
Ariza where
yeah, yeah.
he goes what 1 for 11 from three or
Ariza,
something
Eric
crazy.
Gordon, Harden, all of them were ice cold. I mean, that series is extra. I mean, if you want to talk about the like, because I think injuries are unfortunately a part of the playoff legacy, and we'll talk about that a little bit. But I mean, you want to talk about like straight up one of his better chances to win? Yeah, that team with Houston, where they had the Warriors on the ropes, like the KD Warriors that were beating everybody. They win that epic game 5 and again have them right there. But Chris Paul's hamstring gets hurt at the end of that game. He tweaks it a little bit. So he's not even 100% then the rest of the series. Like you said, ice cold game 6, ice cold game 7. The rest is history. The Warriors go on to win the
Right.
championship. And I mean, that Rockets team is probably, I mean, if you want to talk about one of the best teams to never win in my lifetime, like I put that Rockets team right there with like the Kings in to the early 2000s.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
they're probably like the strongest examples of where you go,
Those are the
man.
two.
Yeah,
Those are two since
where you're just
2000.
surprised they didn't break through. And I mean, yeah,
Um,
that's the unfortunate because a lot of times too, I mean, it's a combo of things, right? Because like with the Clippers, with the Lob City teams, like you have that season where it is on them a little bit, where it's like, hey, they had that lead against the Rockets. blew it. Like they had that
Right.
30-point lead in the elimination game. Doc ends up blowing the 3-1 lead. Like that's one of the OG Doc blown leads. So you have that there. You also have, I think of that 7-game epic series where he knocks the Spurs out in 2015, where he hits the game-winning layup and then he gets hurt. Like he just immediately is out and the team gets eliminated after you take the defending champs out. Like that's a big what if. But I mean, at the same time though, you got to respect a lot of these runs because they happen everywhere. Like they were in, those Hornets teams with David West won a lot of games and made the playoffs and went further than that franchise had been at the time. He got to the finals with Phoenix. And I mean, that again, double-sided coin. They were up 2-1 in that series to Milwaukee,
Yeah.
and then they totally lose the next 3 games. And, that clearly the closest chance to get the
was
ring
his
was
year.
that season.
That's the one he had to win. That
Yeah.
was his year right there. Ironically enough, that's the one I told you about that a lot of people give it to the bubble season. That's the season I give the asterisk to. You remember you had the Bucks playing the Hawks in the Eastern Conference Finals, and I forgot who Phoenix beat. But yeah, that was the year you're up 2-1. That you have Devin Booker playing good. Chris Paul was as healthy as we've seen him because he always gets hurt at the wrong time. That's the one you got to finish.
Yeah, I mean, they were, and like you said, Ayton was clicking. Like Bridges was still great that year. Like that was kind of his breakout season. And like they had him on the ropes and just unfortunately blew. Even that game 5 was close. They still could have had the 3-2 lead. Like that's the one where, and that Bucks team was great. Like I don't want to say that Suns team was definitively better than that Bucks team, but. Right. They certainly had a chance to go out and win that series and didn't.
Right.
The next few years, I mean, obviously the ending in Phoenix was pretty ugly, just getting obliterated. That 50-point beatdown at the hands of Dallas, where it was like, the meme where it's like Chris Paul hits the big key 3 to cut the lead to 47 or something like that. Just insane.
That's what I was going to bring up. Like, it's such a shame. Like when you hear Chris Paul, you got to think of it's a big shot because it's used universally around sports. Like when a team scores a touchdown in football, I've seen that meme used. Like,
and it's funny because I feel like he's one of those rare players where Chris Paul is pretty beloved at every stop. Like, I mean, maybe the Golden State and San Antonio tenures, they kind of go, man, whatever. But like Clippers, he's arguably the greatest player in that franchise's history. I feel like you got to love him with the Hornets. Rookie of the year, Chris Paul. The Rockets tenure, they were really close in the conference finals. Shoot, even that year in OKC, they basically like they sent him as the exile out of Houston. It was basically like Harden or Chris Paul, like, oh, Chris is the problem. We sent him to OKC. That team wasn't expected to win anything that year. He had those boys in the playoffs as a low seed. Like he was phenomenal. I mean, that's what springboarded him to Phoenix then, to be like, hey, Chris Paul's still a very viable competitive player. You can win at a high level with this guy. So it is a bit of it's a weird legacy, and it's unfortunate because I think, right, when you talk about point guards, Chris Paul's got to be right there in the conversation. I mean, top 5 point guards ever to me.
right.
I mean, I think the only reason, if anything, I think Steph has just stolen the thunder a little bit. And that's kind of, maybe it's a little bit of victim of stealing the thunder too, right? Because like Steph has taken the point guard mantle and has won all those titles. And so I think people gravitate to him more. And I think in the longevity front, like again, Chris Paul's 40 years old. He's been in the league since 2006. Like a lot has changed since 2006 in the NBA. But because LeBron is still around, we don't really pay attention to it because it's just like LeBron is still out doing LeBron stuff. Like you always, it overshadows a little bit. So I think that's a little unfortunate. I don't think his longevity probably, and I think it will over time, but I think right now it's probably not appreciated the way it should be. But yeah, it's tough though, because like, right, when you also mentioned with the playoffs, like you have to put him there. He's one of the greatest players in the NBA to never win a championship. It's like up there with, him and Barkley and Malone and Stockton and, Patrick Ewing. It's like, that's kind of your, those are the guys you're going to think of right away. And it's unfortunate because I know that's the name that, that's the list that Chris Paul doesn't want to be associated on, though, at least on the, well, and I mean, he's him and the Banana Boat boys, like him and Wade and LeBron and Melo, obviously super good friends. Like that was one of the things too, is the closeness of that relationship. At least in that front, he can say with Melo, like, because Melo never won an NBA title. Now Melo, I'm coming back and I'm saying, yeah, but I got that Cuse run. Like, listen, that Cuse run is the equivalent of an NBA title to me. But no, and. I think that's always an unfortunate conversation to be a part of too, because he's going to be remembered as in a league that values winning, and where in the past, I think, we talk about the league of parity a little bit more recently, but this has largely been a dynastic sport. Chris Paul just
Right.
unfortunately wasn't on the right squads a lot of these years.
Right, and it's a shame because you mentioned him where he ranks in the point guard and stuff like that, and of course it's getting to the point where we're all in our mid 30s now, where we can say we've seen different generations. So we've seen basketball change, but when we were kids, like that Chris Paul is the last of that era, the non-shoot first point guard and stuff like that, where you wanted 15 assists and two shots. The Steve Nash, if he would have played, he's one of the players we would have loved to see because he could shoot so well. But then point guards weren't shooting. The Steve Nash and Jason Kidds. I think Chris Paul is the last of that type of point guards. Now we're starting to see, of course, Steph is on a different level, but the Trey Youngs and the point guards who want to shoot first and things like that, or even the athletic types were the John Morants and stuff. But we're not seeing the true pass first, pass only point guards no more. It's like we almost have combo guards now, which also vaulted positionless basketball. But I think Chris Paul is the last one. Hopefully we'll see it again. I don't see why we wouldn't, because I think there's always going to be a room for pass first point guard. But has there been one since Chris Paul that stuck around? There's been a couple, of course, but none really stick around that I could think of, just with the
No,
pass first skill.
not in that true sense, I think, because you're right. Like a lot of them, like I even think of like with Dame, for example. Dame is obviously much more of an offensive player. And I mean, Chris is
Right.
probably an underrated 3-point shooter in the grand scheme of things. Like he was always
Yes.
hovering around 38, 39%, give or take, like a couple of seasons over 40. But you're right, though. Like in terms of the assists, like he was just racking up 10, 11 a game, like every single year. I mean, even late, like that his season with Phoenix, he's 36 years old. He's averaging 10.8 assists a game. Like,
Yeah.
and still giving you, he was still giving you 20 points a game a lot of these times. Like he was never going to be that, big 50-point scorer the way, you talk about banana boat, the way that Melo and Wade could be at times. But you're right. Like he was always putting guys in a position to win. And as a
Right.
point guard, that's been the role traditionally, is to do that. And it elevates the play of the guys around you. And I think basically every situation that Chris Paul went into, he elevated the play of the guys around. And I mean, think about all the great players he played with over this tenure. It's playing with Harden, playing with Blake Griffin, and peak DeAndre Jordan. In Phoenix, we talked about the guys, but like playing with Devin Booker. I mean, even playing with Steph for a little bit that year in Golden State. It's been quite the tenure for Chris Paul. The other thing we'd be remiss to mention, as we talk about Chris Paul, and again, we'll have a lot more to go over, is like Chris Paul is also a part of one of the greatest what ifs in NBA history, the David Stern veto, with Chris going to
Oh
the
yeah.
Lakers originally to go play with Kobe. Like the Pau Gasol trade was happening, and David Stern stepped in and said, no, actually it's not. And obviously, that's where he rerouted to LA to go to the Clippers and where Lob City was born. But I mean, we haven't really seen a situation like that since then, where the NBA is just straight up vetoed a trade like that.
Right, right. And it was that weird thing where wasn't it like at the time the league owned the
Yeah.
Hornets and stuff, so
Yep.
they had the veto. But yeah, that is a big what if because Kobe still had some Kobe years left
Yeah.
after that. Like you said, the Pau Gasol trade was happening. So yeah, that's probably what Chris Paul looks back on and and is mad about. And then it's just um like you mentioned, Blake Griffin and DeAndre Jordan in their prime and stuff like that. Like that's probably the biggest compliment to Chris Paul. There's no player, even as recent as Wemby, like he was. You could tell he made Wemby better. You have little plays where he showed his touches where he's tying up a guy and he tells Wemby to come and do the jump ball so Wemby can jump instead of him. So yeah, it's those Clippers teams, man. One of those to be a Clippers fan. I know you look back because that's like you said. Doc Rivers is the coach, so Doc was in Doc fashion. We both feel the same about him. But yeah, those teams were supposed to win, and I don't know if anybody. Blake Griffin, me and my I kind of have debates. He's number one pick. Obviously, had Karl Malone comparisons coming out. He was athletic, but did he ever really put it together? But I don't know what I jokingly say this, but without Chris Paul, is DeAndre Jordan, JaVale McGee now of course it's funny to say that because now he's still in the league shooting threes and he's become a
Wild.
sniper. But
Him and Drummond hitting threes is like unsettling to me. Like I remember when we were talking, like having debates early in the podcast because Andre Drummond was shooting like 25% from the line, and we were like, "Is this guy going to shoot himself out of the league?" And now like Andre Drummond is I think a 32% 3-point shooter. Like Wow. Like you want like truly one of the most remarkable developments in NBA history.
Right. It is insane. And it's like you said, you almost expect like you expect it to go in, or you expect to at least have a chance to go in. Where, like you said, Andre Drummond was airballing rebounds.
Carlton,
It's
we would have had if we saw Andre Drummond or DeAndre Jordan put up a three-pointer that wasn't at the end of the quarter to heave back in 2015, we would have had an aneurysm. Like I would have been like and and I mean it's funny because like you can track almost to a season where that shift started. I mean, go look at Brooke Lopez's basketball reference and like pull that up and like you see the clip like very quickly where it's like no, he started to take them and all of a sudden the big guys are go from taking maybe like one a game if that to taking like six or seven in some cases. And yeah, I mean you want to talk about the styles changing, that's probably the biggest one. The center
right,
position more than any affected. But yeah, I mean, it really is though, going back to that last few years with Kobe, because like, right, that team had just won two championships in 3 years. They had, were coming off the title to the Celtics, but that following year when they lost to Dallas, like they lost in the second round to the Dallas team with Dirk that ended up going to win the title that year. And that they were kind of at a crossroads, right? Because like Bynum was still healthy and hadn't dealt with the injuries yet. And Powell was there, but like they were getting ready to move on. Like that was the thing, is like they were going to move on from Powell and Odom, who were huge parts of them winning those championships. But like, right, like that's the refresh, because you said Kobe was still Kobe at the time. Like Kobe, I mean, it was the Achilles is what really did Kobe. And in 2013 is where like you can see
right.
the decline after that. But he was still like the best, one of if not the best, probably pure scorer in the league at that point. So yeah, I mean, who
And you
who
talk about
knows how
what
that
if
would have changed.
you talk about what if the Dallas ended up beating us in the finals, but we not only do you get the Kobe versus LeBron finals that we never got,
Yeah.
you got Kobe and Chris Paul versus LeBron and D Wade. That that would have been epic.
Yeah, that would have been a lot. I mean, truly, like one of the regrets is now, and LeBron admits it, is never seeing that Kobe LeBron finals. That was so unfortunate because that was always. I mean, you want to talk about the debates, like that's what I remember in high school growing up. Like that was a hot topic, was the Kobe
Oh
and
yeah,
LeBron debate at the time. That's like where I feel like those are the debates that like rounded me into NBA form. Like you want to talk about getting
man.
ready for the podcast, like the pod is nothing after those. Like, that's where it all started. Back in the day, you got to love that. It's funny that, like, and one more with Chris Paul before we get out here and start talking NBA Cup a little bit, though, is, with that Lob City team, you're right. I think the impact where, didn't get over the hump, but I think they're going to be one of those teams that people really look fondly on over the future just because of the style and the impact they had in the game and the fact that just like their highlights are super watchable. Like they're really
Right.
exciting. Like, man, I remember one of those peak process games against the Sixers where the Clippers beat us by like 50. And there were legitimately back-to-back plays where Chris Paul and Blake Griffin had like alley-oop windmill 2-on-1s just because the Sixers were giving away, and it was just so, but it was crazy. Like,
Right.
it's so insane that you can't even be mad at it. So
Right. Right.
um
And
I,
it's worth mentioning too, like the Clippers were the laughing stock, like
yeah,
for years. Like not only were they the Lakers' little brother because they both playing the Staples, but the Clippers were pretty much a guaranteed win. At least that's what you thought. Obviously, they didn't go on there too, but you never were worried about the Clippers. And then they drafted Sean Livingston, who had so much promise, and you thought maybe he could turn them around. He has one of the most gruesome injuries we've seen, and you're like, yeah, this franchise is cooked. Like this is just a cursed franchise. You don't ever believe in it. So that's probably his biggest resume. He made the Clippers relevant. He made it to where you didn't just look at them as the Lakers' little brother or an easy win. Of course they never got up with a hump, but he made the Clippers a respectable franchise. And growing up, we never would have been able to say that.
there was nothing respectable about the Clippers growing up. And I mean, part of that, obviously, when you really look back, was all the Donald Sterling chaos. But yeah, I mean, you're right. I mean, they were, and I mean, they still, that I respect the Clippers fan base a ton for that reason. Because listen,
Oh
man,
yeah,
you could go root for the Lakers, like the Los Angeles Lakers. You
in
have
the
a
same stadium.
geographical reason to go root for one of the best franchises in NBA history, if not the best. And you choose to go root for the Clippers, who have never won anything. Like, respect. You got to be dedicated to do that when you have that choice. Like, we're stuck with our teams now. Your basketball team has been a little more successful over the years than mine in terms of recently, but yeah, I mean, we're born into it. They have a rare instance where y'all have the choice, and you chose to be a Clippers fan. So, shout out to all those guys. Shout out to Chris Paul too. We'll give a full. We'll take one last longer look back at it too once he officially hangs it up at the end of the season. But it would be kind of funny. I mean, I don't think he's going to, because it's, Chris Paul can kind of do whatever he wants at this point. But like with the OKC connection, maybe go ring. If you're gonna go ring chase, that's a hell of a place to go ring chase right now. Like they need a better roster. Like, he was great over there. He kind of helped build that legitimacy of turning it around. So,
all right. Well, you mentioned it earlier, that OKC team was just sort of melding in, becoming what they're becoming now. They had no plans on winning. You got the young SGA. That's the year we kind of seen. We're like, oh yeah, they got something with that. Chris Paul helped with his development tremendously.
Yeah, I really think that may even be right, like a more appreciated element of his career as it ages, because obviously we're gonna talk Thunder here in a little bit with the NBA Cup, but again, needless to say, the fruits of their labor are paying off recently. Welcome everybody to the Driving Dish NBA podcast. My name is Kevin Rafuse. Joining me as always, my co-host Justin Cousart, who is off this week, of course, filling in our guy Carlton Cabey at Carlton_KB, like the letters K and B on Twitter. Carlton, you got anything? I mean, you got to talk about the cologne page too, real quick off top. The Smells Good Chronicles on Instagram. Listen, it's wintertime, bro. A lot of holiday gatherings coming up. Of course, Thanksgiving just passed. Up here, you see, like I said, you see me. I got the beanie on. The temperatures change. Little more some intimate gatherings are happening. Like talk to me. What are we smelling like in the wintertime?
Got wintertime, it's big boy season, man. It's our time to shine. You got the vanillas, the cinnamons. I figured you were gonna ask, Kev, so I got 3 for you. I don't like to call them cheap, affordable, mid price, and then if you ball a little bit. But the one I actually need to text, you need to get this in Philly. It's called Jazz Notes by Fragrance World. And here's the bottle.
You're right. Yes, all right.
You got the instruments on this. This is what you need to get up there in Philly, man. Okay. You go to a Eagles game, I think it's like $35 and stuff like that. This might be, I'll do a video, like a recap like we do with everything. That might be my favorite. It's definitely my favorite affordable pickup of 2025. It might be my favorite pickup regardless of 25. Like, it is that good. So that's the one to recommend for you in Philly, man. Like, I can't wait. Next year, it's on my list to go up there. Never been in Philly. Got to go say what's up to you and stuff like that. Got to get, I always joke with you. I got to go see what those Philly cheese sticks are about. But yeah, you know how it is down here in Jackson. We get cold, but we don't get you guys as cold. Like, if it's our 30 degrees and y'all 30 degrees are 2 different 30 degrees.
It's just but it's great though. But in a weird way though, as crazy as it sounds, like the 30 degrees in Jacksonville feels a lot colder than it does in Philly. Because when I was in bro, there were mornings, like there was one morning where I was working early morning. And Carlton knows this. Carlton was working overnight hours. It's like I was coming in at like 3 a.m. at that point. And I just remember getting in my car and I looked at the thermometer and I'm like, yo, it's 29 degrees out right now. Like, I'm sorry, where did I move? Like, what is happening? Like, Jacksonville is the one area of Florida, Jacksonville and like the few areas up north up there where you'll get legit like frost below freezing temperatures and occasionally get a taste of it. Like, Orlando, it's getting to 40, I think, is the coldest ever got in Orlando. Obviously, you get down to, South Florida, you're getting talking 50s and 60s. People start losing their mind down there. So it's a little bit different.
Miami isn't the real place, Kev. We're at the station at 5 a.m, freezing, like you said, 29. And then you see a forecast of Florida, and it's blue. Then you get down to South Florida, and it's 78, and it's like, what? How does Miami? I know they're not close, but 5 hours isn't enough for a 50 degrees difference. Like, what is going on in Miami?
But it really is drastic, though. Like, that's the thing, is because it's like, right, like if you're up here, I mean, realistically, you could get to Boston in about 5 hours from Philly, and it'll be colder in Boston, but it's not gonna be that much colder. Like, we're talking like a couple degree difference. We're talking like maybe 10 at the most, where it's gonna be different. That Jacksonville to Florida, like Miami, like they are 5 hours away by car, basically straight down 95. And it's just wildly different. Like it's insane how like quickly it changes like that. Like that, you get down to that tropical zone and like, listen, it is just different down there. If you feel like we're different, leave us a review on iTunes, good or bad. We'll read it on the podcast. Let us know what you're thinking. If you're not an Apple user, Google Play Store, Spreaker, Spotify, TuneIn, Amazon Music, Player FM, anywhere you can find a podcast, you can find us. Watch the show as well on YouTube. You can subscribe. Just search Drive and Dish NBA Podcast, and we are there if you want to watch the video version of Carlton and I. And now a word from our sponsors. All right, so NBA Cup group play has officially wrapped up as of last week. So we're straight into the brackets now. Quarterfinals are going to be happening in about a week on the 9th and the 10th. Semis on December 13th, and the championship will be on December 16th. This is the third edition of the NBA Cup. Of course, the Lakers winning the initial one, the Milwaukee Bucks with Giannis winning last year. Chance for the Lakers to get number 2. The Bucks are not in the Final Four this year. Your group winners in the East were Orlando, Toronto, the Knicks, and not the group winners, my bad. The 4 teams are, you got Magic, Heat, you got the Raptors and the Knicks, and then out West you got Thunder, Suns, and you got Lakers, Spurs. Of course, we're going to start in the Eastern Conference. I can't have Miami guy and not start with Orlando, Miami. I kind of like, and I love this too with the intrigue right away, because it's like, look, I know they're not like hardcore rivals necessarily, but like this is the closest one we got geographically. Like, I kind of like this little Florida battle going off top for the NBA Cup.
Right. And I think this could be the start of a rivalry. It's like you said, geographically, it's a shame that we don't have a rivalry with the Magic. And I guess because we've never been good at the same time. You know, we come into the league at the same time. There was potential, you know, back in the big 3 years when Dwight Howard was there. It just never happened. But especially with this year, with the Heat playing so well, it looked like the Magic were about to take over the division and run away with it. You know, you always got to respect the Hawks, but you know nobody's ever taken the Hornets seriously. So it looked like the Magic were going to run away, and then the Heat find out, oh, you can play fast. I don't know if you see it too, Kev. They take a low-key jab at Jimmy Butler every chance they get. Every time they talk about the pace stuff, it's like, oh, we don't have our best guy slowing down the tempo anymore. It's like where they go out. I'm almost convinced they asked the writers to ask them about if they could take a low-key shot at Jimmy.
So I wasn't going to, since this is where it's going, we'll get back to it in a second, but I do got to ask, because it's like, you're right. Miami's off to a pretty, I would say, surprising start so far. I think better than most people expected at this point in the post-Jimmy era. You know, Jimmy has been responsible for a pretty fun era of Miami basketball. Obviously, 2 finals appearances. I know they never got done, but it's like, it's hard to really blame Jimmy for that. Like, they just kind of ran up against 2 better teams. And even then, they had the Lakers more on the ropes than I think people give them credit for in that series. Yeah. But regardless, is it acrimonious now? Like, what is the temp down there? Is this going to be like time heals her a little bit, or is like they're kind of like beef here now a little bit?
It's the weird thing is, you know, and Jimmy has done this everywhere. So it's kind of, me and you have talked about it. You know, Jimmy does Jimmy things. I think the weird thing about it was usually it's organization versus player, and the teammates stay out of it. The players still have the respect. The players kind of lost respect from Jimmy, starting with Bam to Tyler Hero on down. And I think that's kind of where the beef starts. Like, you know, it's one of the things where we've seen Spo. You know how big both of us are fans of Spo is. And Jimmy's like, yeah, Spo's drawn up plays where I'm just standing in the corner. And we're like, Eric Spoelstra? And then, of course, the players are just like, Jimmy, you realize we know these plays, right? So I think that, like you said, everything time heals all, especially with the Miami Heat organization. We have Michael Jordan's jersey retired. Shaq's jersey retired. You know, that was a nasty ending. They're going to retire LeBron. So this is an organization that forgives everyone. So I'm actually surprised at this point. Like you said, there is low-key beef there, and I didn't expect it. And I feel like that's part, you know, of course you want to play good anyway, but like I think the Heat came into this offseason like he's with the Warriors, so they're going to be good. You know, we don't know how good and stuff like that, but you know, Steph, they're going to be good. We can't have him say, look what I left. You know what I'm saying? Look what they were doing with me. And I think they took it personal, and that's why you see things like them in the NBA Cup and stuff like that. They're supposed to completely went and did his homework and revamped this whole Heat team to where it's like, I don't know how long this is sustainable, but man, I'm not going to lie. Like you said, those playoff teams and Jimmy Butler, I loved it, but regular season basketball, I can't tell you the last time I enjoyed regular season basketball. Now,
Yeah, I mean,
Justin did tell me, and I know you mentioned it too. I didn't know Norman Powell was this good. I knew he was good, but man, he has been phenomenal.
he essentially like, and he even talked about this pretty openly in the interview. Like he was a victim because he's one of those like middle class, if you will, NBA players where it's like he's not a bona fide superstar, but he's not a like bench warmer either. Exactly. Like
Right,
Norman Powell was a borderline all star last year, like which is surprising again, just because of his age. Like Norman Powell has always been a good NBA player, but like he's really come on here that year with the
right,
Clippers and has continued to do with Miami. Like he pretty openly talked about it. It was like the Clippers wanted him back. They just couldn't afford him. They got priced
right.
out of him. And it was that weird, like just with the apron and everything and the new cap. So I think that became an issue. But like, right, that's the perfect example of a guy going into Miami and just it being blatantly obvious that he was going to succeed there. And I think that's why it's weird. Like the weirdest thing with Jimmy being contentious with Miami is because, and you're right, Jimmy does Jimmy things. Like I don't think we should be surprised necessarily when this is the fourth organization necessarily that this happened with, but it's
Right.
more of just like Miami is a serious organization. Like they have Eric Spoelstra, who just won his 800th game the other night. Incredible locker room video, by the way. Him getting soaked and him having no idea what's happening, like not even knowing that he's winning his 800th game.
I did not know that this is your 800th win.
You know, that might be the one thing where I'm like, come on, you know, somebody had to tip you off there. Nobody
Right.
in the arena told you that it was gonna be 800 tonight. But like, no, that's why it's because like, look at the franchise, right? Like Chicago, not exactly been the best run franchise here in a little bit. The Sixers, you know, we don't need to hear me harp about the Sixers anymore. The Timberwolves, pretty known as a dysfunctional franchise at that point. So maybe you're not surprised with those teams. Miami's not the one you see people exit from that often. Like I know LeBron left, but like LeBron left to go home. Like that wasn't
Right.
that's probably the only place he would have left for at that point. Like that wasn't some like weird acrimonious breakup. Like it really like there was beef here with Jimmy Butler, and that's why it's just surprising. And yeah, I'm with you. I think they're gonna like Jimmy Butler's jersey should be retired in Miami. Like he's one of the best players in franchise history. It's just surprising because like that's not the organization. Like and just because like yeah, it felt like especially when he got moved there, like it felt like that was going to be Jimmy's forever home. Like that was we're going to just ride this till the end. And
Right.
look, the team probably hit its peak. Like I don't even necessarily think like blowing that team up was the wrong decision. Again, just surprised it was so acrimonious because it felt like they were working to get him to a place where he wanted. Like he's getting what he want, right? Like they say you
Right.
play with Steph Curry. Can't
Yeah.
really beat that.
And even that, you would think that things would have a little bit then, because you remember Memphis really wanted him. There was rumors
Yeah.
that they were going to trade him to Memphis, and he was like, "Oh, I don't want to go to Memphis." And that's where one of those things where they're better than me. I'd ship them to Memphis. Like you're going with where the picks are and stuff like that. But yeah, that is a surprise. And I know you mentioned the NBA Cup. The Bam man, like we mentioned Andre Drummond and DeAndre Jordan shooting threes earlier. People make jokes that Asia Wilson's so good, man, had to hit his shooting up, but like he's another one. I don't know how much you've seen him with his 3-point shooting, but that shot looks good. And like you said, the one thing you can always say about the Heat is they know their identity. They get the guys that's going to play well. So, like you
Yeah.
said, Norman Powell was expected match made in heaven. Davion Mitchell, I don't know why he's bounced around, but he's come in and he is fit perfectly. He of course has defense and stuff like that, but he's getting assists. He's being unselfish. That was the one biggest question with this team, like who's going to run point guard. You have how is Norman Powell and Tyler Hero going to play together? That question is kind of starting to get answered because Hero was back, but it was still a big question mark. But the reason why it's looked seamlessly, not only because of the pace, but because Davion Mitchell has sort of been able to helps point guard the offense and let everybody see the ball and stuff like that. So yeah, this is gonna be good. Like I said, I think the Heat were just like, nah, Magic, y'all are still little brothers and stuff like that. I know Magic fans say Boncaro's the most underrated superstar, but I I'm still not convinced he's better than Wagner. I know they want him to take that jump, but every time we play the Magic, it's Fran who I'm more scared of than Pablo.
Well, so like we're starting to see the whispers, right? Because like I'm excited for this matchup because Orlando's been playing great. Like Orlando was 5-6, they're 13-8 right now. Like Miami, obviously 14-7, so a really pretty even matchup. But Carlton, right? Like that's been the weird conversation that we're starting to have. Is just like, yo, Bancaro went down and missed time. and they started getting better. Like they are
Right.
gonna, like, Franz is playing great, Suggs is playing great. You're starting to see some life out of Anthony Black. Like Desmond Bain is somebody that I did think was gonna play better too. Like Desmond Bain also just couldn't hit the broadside of a barn to start the season.
Right.
It's like, hey, a career elite 3-point shooter probably isn't going to totally regress off the cliff for the entire season. So I think that is clearly super helpful as well there. But like, yeah, this team is playing. They're playing well defensively. Like it just feels like they're starting to find their stride a little bit. And this is a team in Orlando that I think people had real and like valid expectations for in a wide open
Yeah.
Eastern Conference. Like they expected them to be competing for a serious spot. It feels like they're starting to become that team, and I think this is a really good test for them playing the Miami team who started
Right.
strong in a meaningful matchup.
For sure, for sure. And like I said, I think this is these two teams are gonna battle all year. I do think we'll see how things match up, but I think this is the year we start to see that rivalry going. I don't know how things have to match up to where it's in the playoffs, but yeah, this is gonna be interesting because like you said, they're starting to heat up. They're playing so well, and then of course you got Spo, who's who always I just want to see how serious Spo takes this NBA Cup, which we've seen no reason why the Heat wouldn't. Like the Heat were trying to play serious before. It was just Jimmy Butler didn't care about it.
I mean, this is exactly the thing though. Like, right, like when you think about the NBA Cup though, isn't this the type of thing that like a Heat team like that is made for? Where it's like, no, this
Right.
is absolutely a squad like that could get hot, take this seriously when maybe other ones aren't, and you go out and get something. Like I think that was kind of the purpose of when Adam Silver had this idea and thought to execute on this, that you get teams like that who wouldn't necessarily have the shot to go win, but then you win an NBA Cup and maybe look at the season a little differently. I mean, it's ended up being the case with the Lakers and Milwaukee so far. I mean, I know OKC
Right.
was in it last year too. Of course, they ended up going to win the whole thing. But still, and I mean, we'll see if OKC runs it back this year. Before we get over to the West, though, the other one is the Raptors and Knicks. Again, we talk about the surprises. Justin and I talked about this a little bit last week, but the Knicks not necessarily as much. We kind of expected them to be Eastern Conference favorites.
Right.
The Raptors group winners 14-7. Like, I know losers are 2 straight going into this podcast, but you want to talk about the surprises so far. Brandon Ingram has been phenomenal for them to start the season. So they're looking to keep that going. I think that's another one, when you look at who could jump up and snag a playoff spot from teams that we wouldn't expect, Toronto looks like they're going to make some noise this year.
Right, right, and you named them. Like I think we're all kind of waiting for Scotty Barnes to take the jump. He had that great rookie year, and it's kind of been like, okay, what's going on since? But Brandon Ingram, this is the Brandon Ingram we thought we were going to see. Like, Kev, you remember Brandon Ingram was getting legit KD comparisons coming out of Duke,
Yeah.
and
Yep.
like he's always been a weird case to me because like when you watch him, you could see the talent. So it's just like, is it the teams? Is it the play style? Like, how is this guy not better? Like he was picked one pick ahead of Brown from Boston. The Lakers get Brandon Ingram, and the Celtics get Jaylen Brown, and it was just like there was no question who the better person was, and it's like that never should have been the case. So I'm super happy to see him finally flourish in there. And like you're right, that Toronto's team looks scary because they have everything. They're very well rounded. Didn't see it coming, but this is what happens when you have an open Eastern Conference, like you said, with the Pacers going down and with the Pacers and Celtics having injuries. And you have teams wide open where it's no tanking, at least not yet from the top half. This is what you can expect. Like they're as scary as anyone in the East.
Yeah, and I mean, like you said, just a lot of quality players on that roster, like beyond Ingram, Jakob Poeltl is still there, RJ Barrett is there, Emmanuel
Right.
Quickly is a guy that I really like, is still there. You mentioned Barnes. Barnes has been the centerpiece of this rebuild, and like I don't really know that it's been a full rebuild necessarily. It's kind of like a weird retool a little bit. I mean, they got
Right.
some young players on that roster, but for the most part, I mean, these guys are a little more established. I'm interested to see kind of what they do at the deadline, given that fact with everybody balling. But like you're right with Ingram, it was one of those moves where, frankly, at the time, I mean, I think my reaction was like, well, yeah, that makes you better, but like, why? What's the point here?
Right.
He's playing well. I mean, he's 28 years old still, so in theory, he's in his prime right now. I think Ingram has been. It's a weird case. I think he's missed time for sure. Like obviously the big one was the blood clots, but like even just in
Yeah.
general, he's always had a bunch of random injuries. But you're right. Like he had that All-Star year in New Orleans. at 22, and then just kind of never, like, he's always given you 20 a game. I mean, he's averaged over 23 points a game every year since 2019, but it's just like I don't know, it's like an
Yeah.
empty 20,
Yeah,
you know?
he did seem like empty stats, and that's the I think that's the question we both had. Like, does he need to be your number one? Does he need a true point guard? Like, what do we have to see to get Brandon Ingram growing? And like you
Yeah.
said, this Toronto has figured out. You mentioned RJ Barrett, who also has had a shaky start. With the expectations coming out of Duke. We I love bringing it up. Like, ESPN had him ranked higher than Zion coming out. Of course,
Yeah.
at Duke, that we've immediately seen that wasn't the case. But I think there is some of that. Quickly, like you said, has always had talent. Barnes putting it together. So yeah, that team is well coached and then finally getting the team put together. But yeah, I enjoy watching them. They're another one who's really enjoyed watching. Like you said, with Brandon Ingram, the stats aren't empty. Like, you can. This is the first year where you can like really see him making a difference on the court, him
Yeah.
making winning plays.
Yeah, for sure. Early league pass starlings, definitely will be intriguing to see if they keep it up the rest of the way. I like, again, a little bit of that Eastern Division matchup there as well,
Yeah,
with them and the Knicks. I think that'll be fun. All right, going out west, we got OKC and Phoenix, and you got the Lakers and the Spurs. Obviously Lakers Spurs, it's going to be is Wemby playing. You want to see what's happening there. I think that, will
yeah,
unfortunately take the steam out of it there. But I mean, look, the Lakers, hitting their full steam right now. You've obviously got LeBron back in the lineup, seems to be in a great mood. Kind of the transition and handing the keys to the car over to Luca is going well. I mean, yeah, this team looks energized right now. They look like they're having fun.
yeah. And it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be interesting. Like, we one thing about LeBron, like you said, he's cheap and he knows the importance of things. So LeBron realistically knows, in the 7-game series, they're not beating OKC. But this NBA Cup, if LeBron can throw another NBA Cup on his resume,
Yeah, listen,
LeBron is
two of the first three. Listen, you can get two half of titles, maybe.
yeah.
You got five now or what?
Hey, we're about to see some of the best LeBron we've seen from in his later half of the year. We're going to see the best LeBron of the season. This is low key probably what he's what he was resting for. Like, hey, Luka, go ahead and trade water for me. I'll be back a couple of weeks in. So yeah, that Lakers team, OKC is just a juggernaut. I don't know how much you want to talk about them later. Like, it's unfair. Like, even in this coming up draft, I've seen random things where they have like the Clippers picks. Like, what in the world were they doing? Like, was it just like, oh, let's trade every pick?
I mean, yeah, in hindsight, it really is crazy in hindsight. Like, I think the Clippers deserve more revisionist history because it was essentially a trade for PG and for Kawhi. Like, you don't get Kawhi without making that PG trade. But yeah, it's really wild when it's like, yeah, the defending NBA champion might have the number 4 pick in the draft too this year when they've hit on all these picks. Like, at some point, it's going to start to be like, do you have too many like lottery guys in the room? Like, we have to almost pick and choose our guys and find a way to, and listen, that's a great problem for anybody to have. But you're right. I mean, this team's a juggernaut right now. They've lost one game. It was by 2 points to the Trailblazers. And oh, by the way, Jalen Williams has just started playing. They haven't basically had their either second or third best player, depending on how you feel about Chet, like for most of the season. And they're still steamrolling these teams. Like, yeah, you can only be impressed with what OKC has done so far. I mean, just absolutely phenomenal work. People have been saying, and rightfully so, that this team is in a better position to defend the title than most teams have been in a long time. And they seem to have very much taken that to heart and look ready to defend this.
Right. And that I can't wait to hit the second half. After trade deadline and All-Star game, you and Justin show because they're 100% going to be on Warriors record watch, and in OKC fashion, of course they have the Suns. Like, how are they playing the Suns in the first group? Like,
well, listen, that's the scrappy underdog of the tournament, right? Like, those are the teams where it's like Adam Silver's like, look, we got Phoenix here. I mean, listen, Dylan Brooks leading the guys. He was jawing at Braun the other night. He's kind of going off. I gotta give him that. Big win for them, 33 points.
That's the thing. Dylan Brooks runs his mouth, and everybody pays attention to that. But he's low key hooping when he runs his mouth some of the time.
Dylan Brooks is a good NBA, but like that's what's crazy is because of how and like look, Dylan Brooks was drawn way too much of the Warriors when he was playing for Memphis. Like it's a lot, but like Dylan Brooks has been good everywhere he went. Like they're because like because he wasn't LeBron or Klay Thompson, people started equating Dylan Brooks. They're like, oh, he's some scrub. He's actually bad. Like, no, Dylan Brooks has been good everywhere he's gone and
Right.
internationally for Team Canada. Like,
Right.
there's a reason, guys. What, like, he plays hard. He plays good defense. Like, he gets involved. I mean, shoot, he's second on Phoenix in points right now. Like, guys averaging 22 a year. Book right now is leading the way there, obviously. But I
Right.
mean, you talk about surprising teams that, you wouldn't necessarily expect. They got, I mean, not really getting much out of Jalen Green this year. He's only played in 2 games. Like, but these lineups with Dylan Brooks, with Grayson Allen, like with Mark Williams and Royce O'Neal, like they've been hanging tough. Like, I give them some
Yeah.
credit there. I wouldn't expect
Yeah.
that from out of these Phoenix squads.
And like you said, with that, Devin Booker's doing what you expect Devin Booker to do. But yeah, Dylan Brooks and Grayson Allen, even last year with Grayson Allen, it's just like, yo, this he's a legit,
Yeah.
legit player. Like he's balling.
Phoenix has some luxury too, in the sense that like Devin Booker just genuinely seems content there in Phoenix. Like that team is not really built to win anything right now. Like, you obviously got to hit the hard reset post those finals teams that we talked a little bit about earlier, and post Kevin Durant, Bradley Beal, where that didn't work out. Like Book is 29 years old right now. He's obviously been pretty excellent since he's entered the league here, but it's been 10 seasons. You start to wonder, they made the finals run, but they haven't really been competitive since then. So you start to wonder, like, does he get the wandering eyes? And Devin Booker, the whole time, pretty consistently, has said, no, I'm cool here in Phoenix. Like, I'm going to sign the max deal. I'm going to spend most of my career here and try to make this work. So, like, it's just, it's a luxury that they
Yeah,
have, and give Book a lot of credit for that. Like,
yeah.
you got to respect the loyalty.
Yeah, you don't see that often. Like you said, he's not a diva. You don't really see him drawing on the court. The only thing we've seen where we laugh at him is that one off season where he was complaining when they were playing pickup, and he was complaining about being double teamed.
Yeah, they're saying it's Pete, right? Even when we picked double team in the pickup game, that was
Yeah,
funny.
like, dude, you're Devin Booker. Like, you can't defend you. Like, of course you're
It
absolutely
was
being double teamed in a pickup game.
it was that it was the early start with that, and then it was when he scored 70, but they lost. And so it was kind of crazy because like they were celebrating, but it was also weird because it was like, yo, y'all lost the game though. That's crazy. It's like y'all let Booker score 70 points and you didn't win the game. Like that's so unfathomable.
Right,
No, honestly, nowhere I gained a lot of respect for Booker too. The Olympic year with Team USA, because Booker was doing all the like dirty work on that play. Like he was setting screens, he was making the right pass, he was playing good defense. Like he didn't remotely, like, you need someone on that team with all those, and on that team there's a clearly established alphas when you have Steph Curry and Kevin Durant and LeBron James. Like you kind of know what it is. And Booker just never made people. He's like, no, I'm just gonna play my role here. I don't think people expect this out of me. Like they kind of expect me to be like the need the ball in my hands type guy. And no, he played really solid
right.
basketball for Team USA. He deserves a lot of credit.
Well, it's like it's one of the big complaints. Obviously, you guys got Maxi and one pick ahead, the Heat get pressure to it, but it's like when in doubt, just pick a damn John Calipari guard. Like he has no miss. Like say what you want about Tyler Hero, but if you tell me what you expect Tyler Hero to be when he gets drafted, he's that. Like it's not his fault that he needed him to be more than what Tyler Hero is, but like Calipari doesn't miss when it comes to guards.
Yeah,
Like,
it really is. It's one of the few like guarantees. I'm taking a chance there every time.
right.
Crazy back to back too with Maxi and Desmond Bain, both of them just slipping, and then going back to back with Memphis and Philly. Like just one of those where it's like, how are both of those guys in the 20s? Just where the draft doesn't make sense sometimes. But yeah, I mean, in terms of favorites here. Yeah, I mean, it's hard for me to say anything against OKC right now.
Right.
The way they're just locked in and feels like they're taking this seriously. The Lakers to me would be the team if they're going to beat them in the West. Out East, I don't know. I feel
Yeah,
like whoever
it's
wins that Magic Heat game is going to win the East, but I feel like OKC is going to win this championship.
yeah, and that's the thing. Like I do think we'll the Heat beat the Magic. I would guess the Knicks just because of course we're still not used to picking the Raptors and things like that. But it's just like you're basically playing to lose to the OKC. That's kind of how it looks, especially with no Wemby. Like Wemby's definitely out, right? For a
Yeah,
month. Yeah.
I
So with
mean, I
no
guess he could come back, I guess, because it's in a few little bits still. Like, I don't think it's what I say it was 19th, yeah, or the 16th. The championship is the 16th, so like, there's enough time in there where Wemby could come back. And at that point, yeah, I think he's. I mean, if they get that far, Wemby is taken everything super seriously. So I
Yeah.
think you got to feel good about that, and that'd be super. League would be thrilled about that. But
Oh yeah.
I mean, look, listen, OKC. I mean, even and then again, you go back to the money. Like I do think we underestimate how much these stars want to play for like the other guys on the roster, like the 12 to 15 men, where it's like, yeah, these guys on two-way contracts, like that 100 grand take home means a lot. Like that means something to them.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely.
and so I think like I mean SGA in comments basically alluded to that. He's like, no, we want to like win that money for these guys too. So yeah, they just feel motivated. I think that's the biggest thing is it's like, look, and it's nice to see OKC's plan come together. Like give them a lot of credit for sticking to their guns and having this play out. But it's like they do. They just seem like they're not bored of playing with each other yet. Like they're not they want to check the boxes. They want to be this dynasty and this all-time team. Like, and it's going to be tough out west, but it's hard to really find a flaw there right now. I mean,
Yeah.
and again, I like the Lakers a lot. I like Denver a lot. I think Houston is going to be great for the rest of the season. Like, there are multiple teams. Like, it's not just going to be some rollover. It might low key, like I don't know. We're
That's
starting
the
to get there.
thing.
Like I keep wondering, like it's like, are we playing? It reminds me because like it was always with those years of the Warriors and KD is where it's like there is that general like attitude around the league, right? Where it's like, no, we're all kind of playing for second right now. Like y'all know that,
Right.
right? Um, even with the Cavs teams, like with those Cavs teams were so good. Like even like that Cavs team that lost to the first KD team was probably better than the team that actually beat the 73 win Warriors. But it's just once you got
Right.
KD, there's no chance. Like
Yeah.
it took everything out of it. OKC's not to there yet, where I'm like, nah, where I'm like they're completely bulletproof, but like we're getting
Well,
there. Like
we'll have to see. Like you said, history never remembers it because they end up winning. But like you mentioned, the Rockets with that Warriors team earlier and things like that, they'll have a kryptonite that they'll struggle against. We just don't know who that's going to be yet. I'm always good for mentioning Denver just because how big of Jokic fans we are, and like it's just hard to turn down Jokic when he's just out there doing everything. But there'll be a team that they'll struggle against and be like, whoa, okay, that's it. But I guess it has to be the Spurs. Like the Spurs, a healthy Spurs team is probably the team it's going to be. But yeah, it's just like it's hard to imagine anyone beating OKC in a 7 game series.
no, I mean I'm with you on Denver as well. I mean even going back to the playoffs last year, like Denver's the team that pushed them to 7. They really had them on the road. I mean, other than Indy, obviously. But they were the
Right,
one that had him on the ropes, the no doubt. Like you said, Jokic is the best player in the league, playing probably the best basketball of his career. He is the one guy who could take over a series and just win it on his own. I like Denver supporting cast too more than I
yeah,
have in the past little bit.
for
That's
sure.
kind of why I'm more bullish. Like Denver was a team whose window I kind of felt was closing, and I think they did a good job of prying it right back open a little bit. Like it's never fully
Right,
closed with Jokic, but it's like, you could go competitive, or you kind of go the way that Milwaukee has with Giannis now, right? Where it's like they're just not really going to win anything. Like you've already
right,
won, so it's not a failure. The same way Denver's already won with Jokic, like you're never going to call it a failure. But yeah, is it going to be multiple titles, or is it going to be one? I certainly feel better about their chances here in Denver than I have in a little bit. But again, it's looming for the first time. Like even these teams have won the past few years. Like other than maybe maybe I'm wrong there actually, because Boston 2 years ago was pretty consistently the best team from start to finish. They had those weird hiccups in the playoffs occasionally where they would just lose games that they had no business losing
it's
at
because
all.
I think it's because they couldn't be. People seen them struggle versus the Heat, so it's just like, how good is this team really when they're struggling versus Jimmy Butler
I just
and a
remember
bunch
like
of role
well,
players?
they had that series against the Pacers too, where it was like Halliburton got hurt pretty early in that series, and they just were
Right.
struggling to beat this team. And it was more like, no, the Pacers are beating themselves at this point. Like, how are you? You're Boston. You should be winning. Now, to their credit, getting Porzingis back in the lineup helped a lot too. Like Porzingis missed
Yeah.
time, and then once KP was there, that lineup was just so versatile. They could beat you in so many different ways. But I mean, really though, like none of these, it doesn't feel like there's been that inevitability, I guess is the point that I'm trying to make since the KD Warriors teams. Like that was the last team that like truly felt
Yeah. You
inevitable.
just
Where
knew.
like OKC feels like the first one in a little bit where it's like, hey, yeah, they just might be. This might be it. Like this may be a
Right.
foregone conclusion. Like I don't see who's beating this team in a 7 game series, and obviously a lot can change. But right now, like we said, the fact that they played this good too without such a key piece in Jalen Williams, you just got to give it up at sometimes. Like
Right, right. It's just it almost seems like their fall off isn't going to happen until they have to start paying people and seeing who they're going to let
well,
go.
yeah, and that's the big so like with Hartenstein, for example, with Lou Dort, who's been there for so long, like those are the guys you start to wonder about, like, right, can you get priced out? But that's just where there's so much there's so much leeway because they have all these picks. It's like you guys like you price any of these guys out. I mean, even guys now where it's like, look at Cason Wallace, who was a pick for them
Yeah.
recently, who's already came in and played big minutes for them on a team that won the finals last year. Like they're it'd be one thing if their track record with drafting was bad, but their track record with drafting is excellent. Like they've hit
Right.
on every pick basically. So it's like, it's an extremely enviable situation.
For sure.
And you got to give them credit for finishing the job. But I mean, beyond the NBA Cup, early on, we're about a quarter into the season now. Are there any other teams that have really like caught your eye that you've enjoyed watching so far, or that have just kind of surprised you and are playing better than you expected?
Um, it's hard to say better than expected because they started towards last year. They started to sort of play well, but I'm loving the Pistons, man. Like how you mentioned with Devin Booker with Cade Cunningham. Number one pick was not going good at all for him, and he's always had the type of game where he elevates everyone else, and they just didn't surround him with I guess maybe the talent was too young at the time, but he's never complained. Like I barely know what Cade Cunningham sounds like. Hey, as far as interviews, but man, the Pistons, they got my boy Duncan Robinson over there where it still looks weird seeing him in a jersey, not the
It
Heat.
does, low
But
key.
but they are balling. Like it's if I had to guess right now, it would be, obviously it's early and injuries. It's OKC Pistons from what I'm seeing. Like that's how bullish I am on Detroit. Like they are hooping. You got Jalen Durden who's always been playing well, but you got then the Thompson and like that's just such a fun team. Duncan Robinson's putting the ball on the ground, driving like that whole team finally is gelling together. And like you said, changing and we grew up the Pistons recently have been bad, but us growing up, the Pistons were always good. You got that team that, of course, that beat the Lakers and things like that. But even before then, like they were always there. The Chauncey Billups, the Ben Wallace, like the Detroit basketball, they've always been a problem. So it's good to see them back. And yeah, I'm just loving loving watching them right now. I'm not gonna love it when the Heat have to play them, but they've definitely been enjoying watching. And Kev, you man, I like your young guys, man. Maxie and guys, you guys got something there. Of course, Embiid and the injuries and things like that, but I wouldn't sleep on you guys, man. I know I know how Philly is, but you guys definitely have hit on some picks.
I'm fast asleep, but I mean, I feel you though. Like because I like VJ a lot. I think VJ is a great pick. Obviously, Maxi's playing out of his mind this year. He's
Yeah.
really just become the superstar that we thought he could be. It's just an awkward, weird situation right now because it's like you don't know if Embiid's going to play on a nightly basis. Frankly, he's been kind of bad when he's played this year. Like he just offensively isn't nearly the difference maker he's been. The lifts just isn't there. I feel like it's just a bunch of injuries. Like he just looks like he's been hurt a lot. He doesn't look like the MVP that he was even 2 years ago. And again, like Paul George is here. It's like, well, this contract makes no sense if we're trying to win now. So it's like it is. It's like that awkward two timelines you've got going on right now, where it's like they've got good young players that people should be excited about. Like Jared McCain is coming back. He looks like
Yeah.
he's finally starting to settle in. Like they've got even like the Adem Bonas and the Justin Edwards of the world. Like there's guys there, but it's like it's almost like they need to just blow it up kind of, but they can't in a way because
Right.
nobody's taking Embiid's contract right now. Like same thing with Paul George. Like it's just I don't know. It's a weird situation because like they'll go out and they'll lose games. They lose a game to Atlanta the other night in double overtime that they have no business winning. But then they'll just go smoke Washington tonight. But it's also like right, like it's Washington, and you really reading
Right.
that much into it. But so it's a weird, awkward spot. I mean, they're going to be better than they were last year. Obviously, kind of a low bar there. But the young guys are worth watching. Like I don't want to sound like I'm slandering. I am very high on them. I think they're all going to be excellent. VJ was the right pick. Like we finally hit on a high draft pick for once. But Detroit, though, back to them, yeah, like yeah, I mean, defensively, they've been great too. And, more OKC propaganda, cleaning the glass. If you look at the defensive rating, OKC is so much higher than everybody. Like they're like in their own stratosphere.
It's
But
crazy.
number two on top of everybody else is Detroit. And I think more importantly, last year, with that playoff experience, like getting that seasoning under the belt a little bit, like, a tough first round loss to the Knicks, who they really pushed. And I think that was a Knicks team that most people thought was better than Detroit. And Detroit had them on the ropes. Like they were really
Yeah,
like,
they
there was a
did.
great chance that was going to game seven, outside of like a little bit of Detroit fumbling and some Knicks heroics, Jalen Brunson heroics in particular in game six. But yeah, I mean, now that, like you said, Cade has blossomed into the superstar that you hope that he would be. There's a lot of depth there with some of these younger guys as well who have really come into their own. And yeah, they're going to play. It's just so fun. It's such a wild turnaround because this team was so bad. Like, I mean, 2 years ago, like we're talking about a bottom three team in like NBA history. Like it was that bad. I mean, and
Yeah, it
and Monty
was.
Monty Williams, man, you want to talk about a coaching job is aged like milk. Like it was already aging like milk at the time, but like, oh my God, they got literally just by getting rid of Monty, they got a little more competitive. Like they didn't even change the roster. That was truly like where it's like, man, coaching is actively hurting this team. JB Bickerstaff is a guy now who, I have reservations about how far you can go with JB Bickerstaff, but JB Bickerstaff has also gotten a lot of teams to the playoffs. He's taught a lot of foundation. Like I feel like he set the foundation for a lot of franchises and just like taught them good habits in a way. That's what we're seeing now in Detroit. Like they're certainly competitive. Right. Like you look at this Eastern Conference, they got to be right there in terms of teams that are have a chance to win the whole thing, especially if they keep up this defense they've been playing.
For sure, for sure. And the NBA may have been saved because you remember that historically bad team, bad Pistons team was the year that Wemby was coming out. So can you imagine this Pistons team with Wemby?
Caden Wemby's nice. Like that was the,
Yeah.
and that's also, and Cade is another point to the development where it cracks me up because it was like Cade Cunningham was a consensus number one pick. It's not like he came out of left. Like he was projected by everyone to be the number one pick that year.
He got
And
Luka comparisons.
yeah, like he shined his rookie year. He's pretty good. He showed you all the flashes he needed. He had a really bad second year playing for an absolutely horrible team. He dealt with some injuries, and everyone was so ready to bury this kid, it felt like. And they were talking about like worst number one picks ever and stuff. And it's like he's been nothing but a superstar for the past 2 years.
Right.
And it's like maybe don't hit the eject button on a number one overall pick 2 years into his career. Like it has to
Right.
really go catastrophic, or they have to completely forget how to shoot when they go sign with the Philadelphia 76ers.
Right. Now, of course, like you said, JB Bickerstaff is the question mark. Me and Lewis have a running joke because I don't know if you remember, man. A couple years back, he was like interim coach. Like it was almost a guarantee that whoever staff he was on, the head coach was getting fired.
For sure.
Where it's
100%.
the point where I'm like, dude, you can't be on my staff. Like every coach, everybody you're an assistant for gets
It's the
fired.
omen.
Like
You just know what's
you got
coming.
yeah, like you gotta go coach on someone else's staff. So it is good to finally see him get his chance. So it's like we'll see, like you said, come playoff time, how much of a difference he can make. Cause yeah, that like you said, that should have at least went to 7. And like, do you point to coaching? Is it an experience? We'll see a little bit more this year. But he's definitely the biggest question mark for the Pistons.
Yeah, and I mean, I think it's too, just because I think the recency is that those Cavs teams underachieved in the playoffs. And I think that's the knock with them in general.
Right, those two.
But to be fair, they did it with Kenny Atkinson last year too. So I think at that point I go, hey, maybe that's where you give JB a little tip of the hat and say, we give him a little bit of credit there. It's like, because I thought Atkinson did a phenomenal job coaching, and it did matter come playoff time. Like that, maybe at some point you start to put the blame on the players there a little bit. And I mean, that's one of the teams too, where it's, we haven't done a deep dive on Cleveland really this year, but like that's one of the teams where they're firmly in the, like, we got to see it in the playoffs camp. And, we'll see. They're going to be competitive again. They certainly are again in this wide open Eastern Conference. Thank you everybody for listening to this episode of the Drive and Dish NBA podcast. Appreciate you guys as always. My guy, Carlton KB, filling in. Make sure you follow him on Twitter at Carlton_KB, like the letters. You've heard him here on the podcast a bunch. Make sure you follow on Instagram too, Smell Good Chronicles. Listen, guys, girls, whatever's going on, if you're listening to this podcast, listen, it's the winter time, Christmas coming up. Y'all know you want to smell good. You got all these holiday gatherings and stuff. Carlton is the way to go. truly he smells good in real life. I can attest to that. So like, because that's the thing is like, listen, you can't just have a smell good page. Like you have to actually walk the walk in real life. So, always plenty of good stuff there. A lot of different reviews and stuff like that. You can get into the dupe wars and all that too if you want. I mean, what else? You got anything you want to plug before you get out of here?
No, I was gonna get you. I do want to hear a little bit. Get 60 seconds of Eagles, man. I think y'all are just bored. Well, the Bears are legit good. The Cowboys was inexcusable, but the Bears are legit good. Caleb Williams is showing why he was the #1 pick.
The Bears.
Hey, y'all got my boy Jay. I should have texted you. Jalen, I almost get a sack Phillips. He's been like that since the University of Miami. He will get to the quarterback. He might not get the sack, and it's going to frustrate you.
Jalen Phillips it's funny. He had an amazing first game with us. Like, I mean, just like he was the best thing since sliced bread after that first game. He's been way more good than bad. I'm happy with that trade still largely overall. I'm interested to see what kind of contract he gets. It depends how the season will finish. The defense is good. I mean, Chicago's the first game where it was like, look, Chicago, they just did a great game plan. They ran the ball all over us. The Eagles, I think it's like the most rushing yards they've given up in a game since like the 80s or something like that. Like the combo of DeAndre Swift and Monongai just, hat tip to them. They schemed their ass off and deserved it. The offense is anemic. And that's the problem is like, look, certain things maybe you could expect more than others. The Saquon regression after his heavy use last year, the 2K yards, all that stuff. Maybe that's not that surprising. The offensive line is taking a big step back. I think that's probably the bigger issue here too, is that like, look, Lane Johnson has missed a ton of time. Landon Dickerson's been playing through injuries. Cam Jurgens has been playing through injuries. I think both of them don't look quite the same as they did last year. Tyler Steen has been good. He hasn't been quite as good as Mekhi Becton was. So like that matters a lot too. But like, look, for me, what it all comes down to at the end of the day is like, it's all about Kevin Patullo. Like the offensive coordinator, like multiple way smarter people than me with NFL have broken down that the scheme is just bad. Like we don't scheme receivers open, and which is remarkable when you employ AJ Brown and Devontae Smith, and then even Dallas Goedert at the tight end position, like a really good tight end. They just aren't getting the ball in their hands, and they aren't letting their playmakers make plays. And even more with that as well, in terms of the predictability with the offense, they for some reason have also completely decided to take Jalen Hurts runs out of the design Jalen Hurts runs out of the offense, despite the fact that it's been pretty successful even when we ran it this year. Like, and it's just weird to me because Nick Sirianni has just tethered himself to Kevin Patullo to the point where it's like, the Eagles' job is a tough job. There's no way around it. But like my man Nick just won the Super Bowl last year. Like we are still within a calendar year of the Eagles winning the Super Bowl. And Nick has just decided to burn all his goodwill on Kevin Patullo and just said, no, I'm not making changes, even though like they so clearly desperately need a change. Like Carlton, they have less projected expected big plays than the Jets offense and the Saints offense do. Like that's so unexcusable right now. Like the Jets have scored more points in the past 2 or 3 weeks. I think the Jets have scored 78 points in the past 2 or 3 weeks. The Eagles have scored 67 in that time. Like look at who you employ on this roster. Like when you look and the amount of money that's being put into it. And I think at the end of the day, like what I think is the most frustrating thing, and again, these are all like play the world's smallest violin. Like we just won the Super Bowl. I'm not really complaining that hard about it, but it's like, because the NFL is so wide open this year, in my opinion.
You want to take advantage,
like,
for sure.
It's right there. Like if the Eagles offense is average, they could win the Super Bowl again this year. Like it's right. Like other than maybe the Rams, who just lost to Carolina on the road, like there's no real team that has jumped off the page at all. Like if anything, all the teams we thought were going to win have been kind of disappointing. Like the Bills look mediocre as hell on defense. The Ravens and Lamar have totally crashed out this year and haven't been anything near what we expected. A lot of injuries on that defense as well. Like the NFC, like it's a lot of teams that have been good, but it's like I'm too early to put the stock in them. Like with Drake May and the Patriots, who've been great, but it's like, am I really picking them to win the Super Bowl right now? Like, am I picking the Colts to win the Super Bowl? Am I picking like Sam Darnold and the Seahawks to win the Super Bowl? Like, there's just not that team where I'm like, yeah, no, that's it. That's going to happen. We're like, even in the past, like, the past 2 years of KC obviously being there every year, but like those San Francisco teams with us, like it feels like there have been multiple teams that are capable of winning the Super Bowl. I feel like there's like maybe 1 or 2 teams that could win the Super Bowl this year.
Well, it's so wide open and that's the thing, like you said, like I feel like the past few, like last year, Eagles and Chiefs, a good guess. You know what I'm saying? That would have been a lot of people's guess. Of course, it's the Bill, are the Bills going to get over the hump, the Ravens and stuff like that. Like you said, the 49ers. But you had an idea. This year, I have no clue. That's why I kind of think it's kind of you guys getting bored, and this is the time you want to do it. You know, this stagnant in the middle of the year, turn it on when the playoff time comes. But like I said, the Bears was a good, like you said, good scheme and stuff like that. The Cowboys, I ain't gonna lie, bro. Not to get your.
No, it was inexcusable.
I stopped watching. Like I seen 21 nothing. I said, yeah, okay.
And they had an interception after that. And they were up 21-0 and had an interception. Dallas was driving and they picked the ball off in the red zone. Reed Blankenship did, and they still find a way to lose that game. Like they did everything possible. And I think, look, like that's why it's so odd because like, and that's been the roller coaster of Eagles football the past 3 years, right? Is like Super Bowl appearance. 2023, they're 10-1 and then have the worst collapse I've ever seen. I mean, like lose 5 straight to the likes of like Drew Lock, the 4-win Cardinals. I mean, it was, and then get totally dog walked by the Bucks in the playoffs, which is like unsurprising to anyone who watched that season. Then come back and win the Super Bowl the next year. And now this year, I think because of how 23 ended and because so many of these games this year have been close, games that they could have frankly gone either way, that we've won, the Rams game, the Chiefs game, the Buccaneers game, where it was like, they pulled it off, but like they didn't exactly like slam the door there either. Like they left a lot of these games open. So I think there are a lot of people who are jaded from 23 and see some of those habits starting to creep back in where it's like, listen, I'm with you. I hope that they are bored and not, are going to turn it on come playoff time. I just don't think they are. I haven't seen any indication that this offense has any idea how to turn it on. And that's my problem. Like the defense might win them a game or two come playoffs off that. The defense is great. Like I really, right. There are things that could be better there, but as an overall unit, they're playing pretty good. Like last week against Chicago, and the game against the Giants a few weeks, like the Thursday night game they lost. But like those are the only 2 games where I'm like, no, they got just smoked on defense. Like Chicago, I mean, yeah, I really give them credit. Like like I haven't seen many teams just take it to the Eagles like that a while. Chicago did. Like that game, that final score was not nearly as indicative of how lopsided that game was. I say all that to say they're probably not winning the Super Bowl this year. I hope they get reset, recharge. Maybe you're like the, totally different sport, but like the San Francisco Giants in baseball won every other year. Maybe that's the Eagles thing. We're going to decide to like take every other year seriously. But it's definitely like, again, perspective matters, but it's disappointing seeing them lose some of these games the way they're losing these games. And just and the fact that the offense just looks so inept. Like it's not even like they're just average in losing games. It's like, no, they look bad.
Right, and that's what's surprising. Like you expect Jalen Hurts and the boys to at least have a offense with the chemistry. These aren't new pieces at this point. Like other than Saquon regression, even then you still expect him to be solid. But yeah, that's what's surprising. You got AJ Brown crying every other game and things like that. So
he's kind of right though. That's the thing is it's like, I want to get him on, I know the AJ Brown's a diva thing, but like he's kind of right here. Like the team is terrible and we don't get him the ball and he's really good when we get him the ball. So like, right. I don't know. It's hard to, I've got fatigue, I think, at this point. I think I'm just like, you know what? Just, it's fine. Eagles, go ahead. Like, just do whatever you're doing for the rest of the season. Just leave me out of it.
You could be a Dolphins fan, man.
I hear you.
You see, we're pulling that crap again. One game, 1-6, fired a GM. Now we won 4 straight. Like, what are you doing? Now you're ruining your draft picks. We're gonna live in the middle of the draft. Like, stop doing this. It's funny. We finally fired Chris Greer, who's been the problem. That GM, he's been the problem. Chris Greer left the Patriots in 2002 and came to the Dolphins. The Dolphins have been bad ever since. He literally started the Patriots dynasty by leaving their organization, and it took us so long to fire him.
It really is like it's gone under. I think people have picked up on it recently, especially this year with just how bad it's kind of been for Miami. But yeah, the Dolphins have been in that. I had the quote for the longest time in the intro to the show where it was like, you never want to be in the middle or whatever I said back in the day about, it's the worst place to be. That's kind of where the Dolphins have been. Like Dolphins have never been, other than that 1 in 15 year, they haven't really been like terrible.
Yeah, we're never terrible. and we drafted a left tackle when we went 1-15 because that's
Yeah.
so Dolphins over Matt Ryan.
It's
The
brutal.
biggest thing, I've always been neutral, and I've always kind of been a Tua fan. I wanted him badly out of Alabama. We saw how good
Yeah.
he was. I've been neutral. Tua just doesn't have it. Like, you say what you want about him, like some of the things were overblown, like the deep balls and stuff like that. He didn't have the best deep ball, but he was always accurate. He always made the right decisions and stuff like that. Like, I don't know where this Tua turnover thing came from. Like, it wasn't until 2 years last year when he really turned the ball over. He didn't turn it over enough. He would hold on to the ball so he wouldn't turn the ball over. But Tua is just done this year. Like, you watch him. Tua's always been someone who's thrived off his confidence and stuff like that. And he just doesn't have his confidence. His hip, he lost all mobility. He used to be able to escape sacks and things like that. Like, I'm seeing him take sacks that Tua didn't take. I'm out on him, man. Like, and that's why I don't want to win these damn games, because I don't want like. I don't know how much of the Saints game you watched last week, but it was just so Dolphins. Like, they're handling the Saints easily. The Saints score a touchdown. Minka Fitzpatrick, of all people, gets a pick 2 on the 2-point conversion to put us up 4 instead of 2. And then the Dolphins give up the onside kick. We call the timeout because we don't have the onside kick team out. For whatever reason, it's a minute left and you're down 4. Oh, why wouldn't you think the team's going to kick an onside kick? So we call an onside kick to, I guess, put the hands team out there. And then you still have linemen looking at the ball to let the Saints get the onside kick. I'm just like, why am I watching this game? And I'm watching just expecting the Dolphins to lose this game. But of course not, because that would give them a better draft pick. And so they win.
It really is unfortunate, because I think it's like every Dolphins fan wanted Tua. Y'all were right in wanting Tua, and it just hasn't worked. Like, I think it's not even like it was the wrong pick. I don't think there's any buyer's remorse there. It just stinks because it doesn't work. Like, sometimes it doesn't work. It's to a lesser extent what I think Jags fans are dealing with Trevor Lawrence right now.
No.
It's like, you really thought you were having a I mean, Tua's worse.
Believe in Trevor.
They're 8-4. They have to. There's not really an option. I don't know if I still.
I wish you were in Jacksonville, Kev. I am Jon Snow. Pulling out telling trash fans, your guy is trash. If you like it, I love him, but your guy is trash.
No, I know. I think it's crazy too, because I think, like, you're right. The rest of the roster is good enough to prop it up, and if he's okay, they'll compete. But it's like, I just need him to not throw 3 or 4 interceptions, and they'll be all right. But it just stinks, because, like, everybody, I mean, you know how it is at college. People were projecting Trevor Lawrence to be generational, and he's just been like, he's been okay. Like, he's been fine, I guess. But real average. Hopefully you think this episode was real average. Shout out to my guy Carlton again. We'll talk to you guys soon.